Now, I'm terribly sorry, but since I still have some audio difficulties. So, just like before, I'll be speaking over what I have done and do my best to give the play-by-play of my battle against Pegasus. Now, aside from last time, we unlocked a new stage with this character, Labyrinth Ruler. But before we get to him, we should go to Pegasus first. Now, Pegasus is pretty difficult by the points, over 1,200. And judging by the stage, it's really rainbow colored. Because I've discovered this soon after defeating him, that the color of the stages is a reflection of the field of which we'll be battling on. Wow, so you're the famed Rose Duelist. I am Pegasus Crawford, the champion of the Northlands, the noblest of Yorkists, and master of the Rose Crusaders. I am also known to some as Thomas Stanley or Lord Stanley to my friends. Seto has told me much about you, dear Duelist. Seto has taught me a thing or two about dueling, so come on, let's duel. So yes, I should have realized from that dialogue that Pegasus was sort of calling himself the big boss out of all the Rose Crusaders. And this was by far one of the most challenging duels I've had so far, and you will soon see why. Now, as you can see, my side has C and metal, but while Pegasus' entire field is TOON. So of course he'll be using TOON monsters, and they may be getting power boosts because of his side. And there's also some labyrinth fields as well, so they block the entire path, and we can only enter from two directions, from one side or the other. The snake here has been a very good addition to my deck, as after defeating Bones, I unlocked it in one of the slot machine lotteries. It has the ability that when destroyed, will permanently spellbound an opponent's monster that destroyed it. Now, as you can tell, I've done some editing, so I've skipped a bunch of the play-by-play, so I could save some time on this video, make it as short as possible. But don't you worry, you didn't miss much. All you really missed was moving some cards around and playing a few cards on the field. At this stage in the game, I decided to play some of the power-up cards or the equip cards that I've drawn, so they don't get discarded to the graveyard. I figured this is a good chance to power up my monsters when I need them. And here we have our first encounter of Spellbinding Circle. My snake here is spellbound and got weaker. At this point, I noticed how Pegasus kept pulling up cards, but yet surrounding himself and doesn't progress towards my side. So I figured he's not going to move any of his monsters if he had any, and would just wait for me to come to him. After Spellbinding Circle, I figured he might have a few trap cards in his disposal, and that's going to be a bit tricky. Oh, here we have his first TOON monster, Manga Rearan. Of course, he overpowered my snake here. But he also failed to snake here's ability, and is now forever spellbound. There is another encounter with the Picori Box. Of course, the Picori Box took out my Hercules Heat. I also found out that while on a TOON space, every monster will lose attack points, unless they have the special ability like his TOON monsters that will gain power-ups rather than power down. I keep trying my best to minimize my hand to draw the cards I may need to overpower the TOONs as best as I can, while also at the same time trying to get through bit by bit. Now right here we saw Brain Control. I was so surprised when Pegasus used this first. It meant he can control any monster on my field. And of course, the monster he controlled was the one right next to me, which means I was going to take massive damage. I'm just glad I called Big Eye instead of one of my stronger monsters, because otherwise I would have been in major trouble here. You can see, I kept losing more and more of my cards, but I knew there was another way to get rid of his TOON field. Oh, before that, magical neutralizing force. At least that's what it's called in the anime. What that did is I got rid of a few spellbinding effects, and now I'm in the rear rank and move again. Now, thanks to Forest, say goodbye to the TOON field. Hello, Forest field. It was at this point that I figured out the potential of the field spells to not only provide aid to my monsters, but to also jeopardize my opponent's strategies. Alright, and here's going to be a new debut of one of the new cards I got, Negate Attack. Negate Attack has a full range, so whenever one of my cards or my deck leader gets attacked, Negate Attack will stop it. Battle ends. Oh, and here's another one of my strong cards, the Skull Knight. Mega rear rank, as well as decimating my monsters. Sadly, I forgot to switch my friends and Panda to defense mode, and I was just kept making more and more mistakes. Placing my force where it doesn't need to be. Too scared to get close to my own monsters, and falling for those trap cards over and over. At least I was using a spell card to trigger those traps, and save my monsters from being affected. While also powering up my own monsters to overpower the TOONs. And it worked. I took out Mango rear rank. Say goodbye. Sadly, because of the attributes, my monster got spellbind for just one turn. And here, I have my very first Destiny draw, and one of the cards I ended up drawing is Raigeki. And this is where I made my biggest fail ever in the game. I didn't bother checking the details, and I immediately assumed that Raigeki was just going to destroy every monster on Pegasus' side of the field. So when I activated, it only destroyed every monsters that are horizontal or vertical to it. So it destroyed none of Pegasus' monsters, but it did take out my Skull Knight and another monster that were horizontal to Raigeki. I wasted a very powerful card on my Destiny draw, so I knew I had to do my very best to win this duel. And it started by triggering his traps one by one, and hopefully overwhelm him with whatever cards I have left. He kept getting closer, but I set up traps of my own. I was down to 600 life points. Pegasus hasn't taken a single damage yet. Only 2 cards left in my deck, while Pegasus still has a full deck. And I was down to my last few cards. I kept moving, anticipating a few traps to come in, and I was taking advantage of my King Tiger Wandu's special ability, which allows you to move 2 spaces no matter what fields it may be. I was hoping for a trap trigger, but instead, they just took that out. But for this one, yes, it was a Niwatori. However, because Niwatori was on a TOON field and gained a power boost, my Scorpion ended up losing points because of where it was attacking to. And I was down to 200 life points. And I made the same mistake again. I miscalculated, and now I'm down to 100 points. This is very nerve-wracking. That means no matter what now, whatever attack I may take or hit, I may end up losing. It's very, very nerve-wracking. From this point forward, every move counts. And this move really paid off. Taking out the TOON Summon Skull, which was in defense mode, with my Gazette. There's my Summon Skull. 2000 attack points, and right here I was expecting to lose. However, fortune smiled upon me. That was the Illusionist Faceless Mage with a defense power of 2200. However, it had the effect where when flipped, it was spellbind from Summon Skull. So before the attack connected, Summon Skull was stopped. So I took no damage. I have no cards left, only the cards on my field. While Pegasus still has a full deck, and 4,000 life points. It seems everything was all over for me, but I didn't give up. So Summon Skull will be spellbind for 3 turns. That's enough for me. Now I need to wait and see what Pegasus does. While the computer tries to anticipate my moves and see the best moves for it to do. At this point I was rather confused, as Pegasus could easily replace some of his cards to summon new monsters. I was expecting that. But look, instead, now I'm in attack range to Pegasus' deck leader. And I was very close to finally doing some damage and maybe turn this duel around. But I didn't know what would happen next. So, I kept vigilant, pay attention to what I have left on the field, and whatever strategies I may come up with. I already took out much of his TOON field, and all he has left are those tiny spaces, while my monsters can benefit from the forest. Oh, and right here Pegasus took out his new Authority to move and call a new card. I don't know what that card was. Oh, Paris Dragon. Fortunately, my Scorpion was in defense mode, so I took no damage. And now, his Paris Dragon is spellbind for 1 turn. I was ready to lose right then and there, but it looks like I was smart enough to switch defense at that time. And now, begins my assault on Pegasus. My Gazelle moves over 2 spaces, starting from the forest, bypassing TOON and onto another forest. I don't know why I moved forward here, but I guess I just want to get one of my monsters closer. Those are the only 2 cards left I can play, Basic Insect and Mystical Sheep number 1. While Pegasus still has half his death. Placing his cards in defense. That may mean that it's either not a monster card or a card that was so weak that he couldn't risk losing it. So bad for you, even though he's on a TOON field, my Tiger was able to move 2 spaces and dealt another massive blow to Pegasus. 600 points left. Just 1 more hit, and that's it. Pegasus is done, and I'll win this duel. What Pegasus has in store, I don't know. At least at this moment, I don't know. Alright. After much strategizing, I decided this was the best course of action if I was a little detailed. Illusion in Space's Mage lost his attack boost. I knew Summon Skull would still be strong enough to take it out, so I figured, why not? Let's take out 1 more threat. So goodbye, Faceless Mage. Now during my turn, Pegasus has yet to call upon any other cards, but he's still being careful with his moves. So I decided to move back with my Tiger, while moving Summon Skull forward, as he had the best chance to take out whatever was defending him. Now that Pegasus is literally at a corner, if I can get one of my monsters to close in, then will deal enough damage to win. Now it's back to mine. Move over my Summon Skull, getting closer to Pegasus. No new moves this time, Pegasus? Very well then. Here's mine. Since his pair dragons on the forest started attacking my tiger, it will win. However, I risked it all on this move, and it paid off. Summon Skull managed to took out his card, which was not a monster card, destroyed it immediately, and closed in on Pegasus. And what will you do, Pegasus? Nothing. Now, for the final blow. Summon Skull, attack Illusion's Faceless Mage with Lightning Strike. If you heard that, apparently I was loud enough for you to barely hear my excitement as I beat Pegasus, for this entire match was so grueling, so full of traps, and so difficult and stressful that I literally shouted in joy when I beat it. I wish it captured my entire reaction, but, well, that's on me. But don't you worry, everyone. From here on out, I'm gonna make doubly sure to check my audio before I upload, because I want to capture my genuine reaction to share with all of you. Man, I managed to beat so far one of the most difficult duelists in this entire game. Oh, now for my slot machine. I got another Fiend Castle. I got an Invisible Wire. And finally, the Niwatori. I saw a few Toon World fields in their all-in Spellbang Circle, but I'll capture them next time. After I beat Pegasus again. I found later I had like the perfect card to take on Pegasus, but I'll explain that later at the end. You must be joking! Me? Lose? Never! Oh dear. You just might be stronger than Seto. I really enjoyed that. I've learned a lot from you. In fact, you've done wonders for my game. Oh, by the way, I'm afraid I don't have any rose cards. Sorry. Now, that really ticked me off because I went through all that struggle and strife and there was no white rose card? I felt so cheated at that point. Well, no worries. After all, I had fun, and I enjoyed that battle very much. Oh, I had this very special insect called Gumo, I think, and his ability is that when it moves, it doesn't trigger any traps. So I've been using that to take on Pegasus from here on out, and powering it up with a bunch of power-up cards. Now, thank you everybody for joining me today. This is me, Olympus, signing off. Have a good morning, or a good evening, whichever.